Feel like after playing this, I actually had quite a bit of fun. Probably the most fun I've had playing a game so far this year, and honestly, in recent years, because I feel like we don't really get a lot of hack and slash games, and I've never really been a Ninja Gaiden fan, but I did enjoy this quite a bit, even though I feel like towards the end of the game it became kind of annoying, I guess. As far as hack and slash games go, I feel like we don't really get a whole lot. Like, in my opinion, I think the last really good hack and slash game that's come out that I've played personally is Devil May Cry 5. Ever since that game's come out, I feel like we haven't gotten one that's like, I guess on the level of this, where it's like an actual hack and slash game. And I'm sure there's gonna be somebody trying to tell me God of War Ragnarok, which that's not a hack and slash game. I don't care what anybody says. This is what a hack and slash game is supposed to be. The original God of War games, I guess Bayonetta, sure, even though I don't care for Bayonetta. Ninja Gaiden, of course. I'd say those are probably the Mount Rushmore of hack and slash games. I feel like when it comes to these games, they're just mindless fun, and it's so easy to just make a dumb fun action game, but people refuse to do it. No, instead we keep getting a million The Last of Us clones. Garbage third person shooters, first person shooters, over the shoulder, emotional story games, walking simulators. But no, we don't get actual fun games anymore. When I played this, I was genuinely shocked that the game is actually pretty fun. To start off, I actually played this on the easiest difficulty because I don't hate myself. When I play a hack and slash game, I want to feel powerful. That's kind of the reason I'm playing one. That's kind of the reason I play hack and slash games. I like the power fantasy, and that's what draws me to these type of games. And so I played on Hero, and at certain moments I was low-key getting cooked still, even on Hero. Overall, the combat's very fun. The blocking is kind of annoying because you need to come to a complete stop, which I did not like that. It was annoying. So I ended up dodging a lot of times instead of blocking. A lot of the blocking that I did was done mostly by accident, and every once in a while I'd actually get one when I tried. Yeah, overall I like the gameplay. I like the Blood Raven form, which allows you to break the guard of the enemy, and it's pretty busted, especially towards normal enemies. The bar feels kind of small though, like you go through your meter pretty quickly. I feel like that should have been extended. You unlock 5 weapons throughout the game. You start with the swords, the devil swords, then you get the spear, which is my favorite weapon I've used, the staff slash hammer, which I didn't really care for that much. Then you get the shuriken. I don't remember what the things are called. The bag full of random items that you can throw at enemies depending on how far you are from them, or you can use like these robotic arm things if you use the Blood Raven form. Probably my second favorite weapon. Then at the end of the game you get the dragon blade, which was kind of useless towards the boss. I'm not gonna lie. I just ended up using the throwable shuriken bag thing that you get. I don't remember the name of any of these items. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of didn't care. I just thought they were cool to use. But yeah, I just ended up kind of cheesing the boss with that because the sword it has no range. Like, you're better off just using that and ranged attacks to kill the dragon, at least in its first phase, because it somehow does more damage than the sword given to you to fight the dragon, which I thought was pretty funny. Overall, I do think that the weapons are all pretty fun to use. Even the staff slash hammer that you get, which I wasn't really a huge fan of, but it was still pretty fun to use when you comboed it together with other weapons. And I feel like the developers purposely made it so that during the execution animations, you would switch your weapon during that time, and you would be able to better continue your combo with whatever the next weapon is that you want to use. And it actually worked out pretty well. I feel like the most annoying part about the combat is that some enemies just, like, it didn't matter how many times you attack an enemy with the Blood Raven form, they just would not get stunned, and you just could not break their guard. Like, they're basically immune to having their guard broken or just being thrown off balance whatsoever. Especially towards the end of the game in some of the boss fights, like the second fight against Ryu, it was actually kind of annoying because you would have to hit him at least like 5 times to like break his guard, and it's got to be one of the worst fights in the game, but I'll get to that later. I feel like in the beginning I was actually trying to do cool moves and combos, then towards like the middle and end of the game I was kind of just button mashing. It was still fun regardless, but I kind of gave up on actually trying to do cool stuff. And surprisingly enough, it's actually pretty easy to pull off a lot of the moves in the game. I really just used the moves that I like the most. I didn't use a lot of them. I just used the moves that I thought were the coolest and were easiest to combo with when I did try and actually do cool stuff, which was really just the beginning of the game, which is when I feel like it was the most fun. Also, there are 2 different movement items that you get. The grappling hook, which is my favorite, which which pretty much just lets you swing around and do ninja stuff, and the glider. And I'm kind of tired of seeing gliders in games. Like, I feel like Just Cause is the reason every single game has a glider in it. Like, they even gave Spider-Man a glider in Spider-Man 2 for some reason. I don't know why, but the gliding segments were kind of annoying because I end up hitting rocks a lot of the time, and I feel like sometimes it was kind of unavoidable, and it was kind of frustrating. And I guess another thing that they added to this game that kind of gave me some Sunset Overdrive, or I guess Ratchet and Clank Size Matter vibes, was the rail grinding that you could do in certain segments, which was another part of the game that annoyed me at first, but once I actually figured out how to play those parts, it was actually kind of fun. Also, you get a surfboard. Yeah, you literally get a surfboard for the underground level, and same thing with the rail grinding. Kind of frustrating. I did not like that segment at all. I feel like they just tried to make each, I guess, part of the game feel as unique as possible. When you get the glider, it's like, oh, you're going to be in the air a lot of the time. When you're underground, you end up using the surfboard pretty decent amount of time. Even during the boss fight, which I don't think the boss fight was even that good, because there was so much build up towards this boss fight, and honestly, I don't think it was that good of a boss fight. Like, the game kind of recommends you use the surfboard, but you really don't need to use it. You can still beat the fight pretty easily without it. Like, maybe if you're playing on a higher difficulty, it's more difficult, but I didn't really have much trouble with it. I thought it was kind of underwhelming. And it seems like every single boss fight in this game has multiple phases, which I don't like. And I feel like it's intentional to draw the game out. I think it's the very first boss fight against the demon lady. That's just what I'm going to call her. The demon lady. And when you fight her, when you first fight her, you beat her, right? And then the game does a fake out. And actually, no, you didn't actually beat her. You have to fight her again. And honestly, when I played that part, I was like, there's no way they're going to make me fight her again. And they did. I guess the only good thing to come from that is she had a slightly different moveset, which I guess depending on how you look at it is somewhat of an upgrade, but in my eyes, not really. It just seems like they're just trying to draw the game out as much as possible, especially towards the end of the game, which I cannot believe what they did. But I'll save the rest of the boss fights for later. You can upgrade your items through your inventory, and you can also purchase different moves from Tyron, which is using karma that you get from defeating enemies. And you actually get these abilities pretty quickly. I was surprised how fast you actually get new moves. Pretty much after every huge enemy encounter, you're gonna have enough karma to go and buy a new move from Tyron. And I ended up basically I think I bought everything except for one thing from him. But upgrading your weapons, you can just go directly to your inventory, and yeah, pretty much just upgraded the weapons I cared most about. So basically the spear and the sword, because the sword is like a must use. Like, you have to use the sword, at least in my opinion. And finally, I'm actually going to talk about the boss fights. I'm not going to go super in depth. I'm just going to talk about whether or not I really liked them or not. I already talked about the shark fight, which is the underground boss fight that you have to do in order to get Sayori back. Yeah, that fight kind of sucked. I did not really like it. Underwhelming boss fight, one of the worst fights in the game. The fight against the robot is one of the worst. Actually, it might be the worst fight in the game, because it seemed like they just said spam a bunch of attacks towards the player, and there's the difficulty. That's it. That's the fight. I actually ended up dying during that fight. That's one of the first times I died in this game, and yeah, it just felt like an unfair fight. You can say skill issue all you want, I don't care. The fight still sucks. The fight I liked the most was definitely against the wolf god. The fight didn't feel too overwhelmingly annoying, or it didn't seem extremely over the top. It was like, it felt pretty well balanced. I liked it. Pretty back and forth. Just a very fun fight. I enjoyed it a lot. Then the fight right after that is when you fight Ryu for the first time. Pretty fun, even though he was high-key destroying me. The second time you fight him, that's one of the worst fights in the game. It's like he got a power up, because the first time you fight him, it's like, okay, he's actually somewhat of a challenge, but the second time around, it's like you have like no opportunity to retaliate. Like, you're in defense the entire time, and I did not like that. He was just overly aggressive, and I was playing on hero, and he was absolutely destroying my health bar. I ended up dying to him like 2 times, even though the fight was still just annoying, and I didn't like it. I didn't feel like a ninja. I just felt like it was there to make the play, to try and actually challenge the player, but in the most annoying way possible. Just make enemy be extremely aggressive, basically impossible to break his guard. One of the worst boss fights, and your Blood Raven bar runs out so quickly. Like, after like maybe 4 times attacking, it's gone. And maybe I just spam the heavy attack a lot of the times, so that could be a huge reason why. But even then, like, that doesn't matter to me. I wish you had the ability to upgrade that, but you don't for some reason, because I guess the developers were like, this is too good, we can't have them upgrade their best ability in the game. for some reaon. Demon Lady fight, okay, I guess, even though you have to fight her twice as Yakumo. The Kagachi fight was actually pretty fun, I'm not gonna lie. He was such a pushover, I couldn't even believe it was a boss fight. It was actually that easy. I don't even know what they were thinking. I thought during this first phase, I was like, okay, this is pretty easy. It's gonna become more difficult after the first phase is over, but no, it was still pretty easy, and I ended up beating him pretty easily. Very satisfying fight, though. I did enjoy it. Yeah, the boss fights were pretty... They're either hit or miss. There's only one fight that I thought was kind of like in the middle, but I don't think they're extremely memorable. For the most part, I think they're kind of just there. The enemy variety is pretty good. The only enemies I hated fighting were the fiends, because they just felt kind of damage spongy. Again, I feel like the scaling for the enemies' health in this game just feels so all over the place. Like, they can be basic enemies, and sometimes you'll hit them like 3 times and they'll die, and then there's other times where it's like, they just won't die. Even the slightly more tanky enemies still felt like they had too much health. I understand they're supposed to be somewhat tanky, but it just felt like they had too much defense for no reason. And it just felt like some of my combos would go up to like 600. It should not take this many hits, dude. I'm fighting basic enemies and slightly tankier, more, I guess, buffer enemies that can take more hits, but it should not go up that high for any hack and slash. That is insane. And I say fight her twice as Yakumo because towards the end of the game, you get a flashback sequence and you're forced to play as Ryu. And guess what? You end up fighting her for a 3rd time. Like, I could not believe it, dude. When I was playing, I was like, they better not make me fight her again. And what do you know? They make me fight her again, and she has the exact same attack patterns and everything. And she's not the only one. You fight the wolf god again. You fight the shark again. And then also, you end up fighting Achilles as well as Ryu and Yakumo, which I forgot about Achilles because his boss fight, he was a pushover as well, just like Kagachi. Fight was stupid easy. First phase was dumb easy. Second phase was dumb easy. And as Ryu, it was even easier fighting him as Ryu because Ryu does an absurd amount of damage. And even though you only play as him for like maybe 40 minutes, maybe an hour, if you're being very thorough, you have the ability to upgrade his health bar. And Yakumo gets 1 health upgrade. That is if you're looking around. He gets to upgrade his health bar like once. But Ryu's health bar is like longer than Yakumo's. Like, why? Like, I just felt like this part of the game was just so tacked on. Like, it was so obvious they're just trying to draw this game out, and I could not stand it. It was so annoying. And the thing is, he feels stronger than Yakumo, but he's not as fun to play. Like, his combos are like far more generic and basic compared to Yakumo. I just wanted to go back to playing as Yakumo, but you couldn't. You had to play through this. You had to fight the same bosses you already fought again. And it's so obvious they didn't know what to do. They're like, we can just make people play as Ryu, do a flashback sequence, and people will pretend this is good. And it's not. It's lazy. It's so lazy. It's unbelievable that they actually did this. I couldn't believe it when I seen it. I was like, there's no way they're actually going to make me fight these bosses again. And they did, because people's standards are so low. They'll pretend this is good. It's so obviously lazy. Maybe this is just me, but I hate his animations. Like, compared to Yakumo, his animations just look really goofy. Like his running animation, then when he's jumping back and forth off of the wall, he literally keeps grunting, and it's so annoying. I cannot stand it. But I feel like Ryu's part just felt tacked on, because I feel like people would have been mad if he didn't play as Ryu. So they're like, we just need to add him into the game and allow people to play as Ryu. And that's why he's in the game. I know. Very, very creative of them. Last minute decisions at hand. I feel like this game definitely had some corners cut, and I feel like this really shows. This game just felt like it was dragging out towards the end. Honestly, I would have been happy if this game were like 4 hours, but the game just kept going, and I was like, I'm having fun, but at the same time, they could have cut like a few hours of the game, and I think it would have been perfectly fine. I wouldn't have really had an issue with pretty much anything aside from some things with the combat. And I guess the final boss fight was extremely underwhelming. Like, the first half of the fight was generic boss fight where boss hangs over platform and then you attack it, which you can barely attack it because they literally give you a weapon to fight the boss, which I barely used. I used it during the second half because the first half, you can barely even hit him. I ended up just using ranged attacks the entire time, unless it just charged over the edge, and its moveset was okay, I guess, kind of, whatever, pretty easy to avoid a lot of the moves. You end up slicing its head off, which I thought was kind of lame. I think it would have been a lot cooler if they just sliced the entire thing down its back, all the way down to the end of the dragon, but I guess they didn't have enough budget for something cool like that. Then the second phase was, in my opinion, I think that was the real fight. It felt more engaging, and you basically end up fighting yourself because it takes the form of Yakumo for some reason. And it basically steals your moves. Kept using the move where it like stretch the sword out where you sit on top of it and do like a big slash. I don't know why I kept using that move. One of my favorite moves, which is the only reason I brought that up. Its moveset for the ending felt not as over the top as I would have liked it to be. Then when you finally killed the Dark Dragon, which is the big bad evil of the game basically, which this game has a very straight to the point story, which I actually do like. I will compliment it for that. I hate convoluted stories. I feel like a lot of games try and be as overly complex as possible and ends up just being really bad and boring. But the story in this game is fine. I think it's alright. It's generic, but I don't think generic is necessarily a bad thing. But you end the game by stabbing the Dark Dragon and you almost don't do it, but through the power of friendship you end up finishing the fight. Like, it was literally something pulled directly from an anime, and it was kind of cringe, I'm not gonna lie. Like, a lot of the voice acting in this game is cringe, and especially when Yakumo talks, because it's so obvious he's trying to be like an edgelord, and it kind of comes off as cringe. I didn't cringe as much, but the cringe was still there, especially when Sayori spoke. I just don't think the voice acting was very good in this game.
The rail is moving? The demon must be trying to keep you out.
Let's take the long way around.
Hey there. Come on in.
You're the priestess?
That's me.
Then you die. Here.
My. Straight to business, I see. That mask. You're a ninja of the Raven Clan. Come to end my life like in your prophecy, I'm guessing? Blackened rain beckons, our bloodlines immense. Through the death of his priestess, must the dragon be cleansed. You have no idea, do you? What your prophecy really means.
What?
I'm fine. Thanks. Why do you care? Everyone else wants me dead, and I don't blame them either. So much suffering, and it's all my fault.
You were being used by Achilles. Nothing more.
But I...
Come. There's still work to be done.
Did you save me?
Yeah.
I suppose I should introduce myself. Cower, mortal, before the Obsidian Overlord, Sovereign of the Damned, the great fiend Achilles!
I feel like the best way to summarize the voice acting is it's just Final Fantasy cringe. Like, I feel like so much of the dialogue it feels emotionless. Like, Ryu seems like the only one with somewhat semi-decent voice acting, but even then it's not that amazing. Achilles is like a cartoon villain, almost funny listening to him talk. Sayori is literally Yuffie from Final Fantasy VII. Like, I can't even take her seriously. Like, no. It's not good. Ryu just felt like his voice actor is just overacting, and it was like, why? Like, you're doing too much now. And then Sayori is easily the worst. The story in this game was pretty generic to the point, and also really didn't make any sense if you think about it for like 5 seconds. Apparently the Dark Dragon was sealed off by Ryu and Sayori years ago. I think it said like 7 years ago or several years ago. I don't think they specify actually how long. The dragon gets sealed off by them. They end up fighting all the bosses that you fought. Earlier during the flashback, they showed that as Ryu for some reason, and you basically somehow used their power or something to seal the dragon off, for some reason need to unseal it to purify the dragon, as if somehow it's a threat to them. I still don't understand why Sayori tried to convince Yakumo into doing this. It doesn't really make any sense. The story is kind of whatever. I don't really care that much. I just thought it was kind of stupid that they were going through all this trouble because she ends up sacrificing herself. And I guess this somehow took Yakumo, who is basically extremely not very sympathetic at all. First moment he meets her, he almost chops her head off, but her dying, I guess, just got him in his anime feelings, and somehow this helped him. They became best friends somehow, even though they hardly interacted with each other. And also there's another character that's tagging along with Sayori, Misaki or something, whatever his name is, who turns out to be Achilles, which somehow resurrected the Dark Dragon years ago, which Ryu defeated, but somehow he came back. Don't explain that. They don't explain anything in this game. He somehow comes back, and then you fight him again as Yakumo. Kill him, and he's hopefully dead. I don't know. Maybe he'll come back in 5 if there is a 5. I doubt it. The story just wasn't very good. I know you're not playing a hack and slash game for the story, but the story in this game is just stupid, which is why a lot of the times I just ignore the story in games in general, because I feel like it's just a waste of time to get invested with something that you know isn't even gonna be that good. But I thought it was okay. Nothing that's gonna amaze you, but it's decent for a hack and slash game. It's an okay story. But overall, I think the game is pretty fun. I'd recommend it. I'd recommend playing it. If you like hack and slash games, I'd get it. Probably my game of the year. I don't think there's gonna be anything as fun as this coming out this year. This might be peak games for 2025. Actually, no, there's one final thing I forgot to mention, and that is the amount of yellow paint in this game. It is so insane. I refuse to not talk about this, because there's literally a point in the game which proves the yellow paint doesn't even work, because there's a yellow ladder that I somehow missed. It's supposed to stand out, but it doesn't stand out at all, because I missed this ladder, because there's one point I didn't even know where to go, and I guess you're supposed to climb this ladder that I didn't see. The yellow paint is pointless, because I didn't even see the ladder, and on top of that, you can just hold in the right stick and it'll tell you exactly where to go. So the point of the yellow paint, I don't know. I guess they just think players are just that dumb. It's stupid. That's it. The game is good, I guess. It's better than most games that come out. I'd recommend getting it. You should definitely buy it. Maybe on sale. I don't care. Fun game. That's it.